DPW Building Committee. We have the meeting minutes from January 13th.
There are more copies there of the minutes and
I'm good.
yep, the pay rep.
Do you guys want a copy?
Yep. Entertain a motion?
Motion?
Motion to accept the previous minutes as presented.
Seconded. Forgot we have less people.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Scott, you're up.
Give me 1 sec. I just
Construction update.
It's going up.
What was our NTP date? Anyone know?
Let's proceed.
The final one?
April 21st was the latest amended one. But what was March, but then we didn't have this. It went to April 1st, and then it got extended to the 21st. It was signed on the 23rd.
Alright, so 20. It's close enough.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so there it is. So, all right. So over the last month, we had a pretty good month considering some of the weather we've had. You know, obviously this time of the year, sometimes we see some slowdowns and some inefficiencies, but overall, just Paige has been continuing to move forward with work, with the focus on finishing up some of the weatherizing of the building, including the window installs and storefronts. So those went in at the admin area. They finished up glazing the windows in the admin area, and then they started on the metal framing of the windows on the kind of the clear story upper windows of the vehicle maintenance garage. They got two sides glazed, and they have the front and rear still to put the framing and glazing in. There's been a continuation of metal panel work, mostly trim and just kind of detailing work around the openings, the garage doors. We've had exterior masonry continuing for the brickwork, that brick veneer on the lower part of the walls. And they've started doing the cat flashing that ties into the windows around the front of the building, the admin area. They've been the MEP and FP, which is the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection rough-ins, have been ramping up. They've been mostly what we see, or what you'll see when we show pictures, are ductwork. They installed a good amount of ductwork. They just dropped in the VRF units in the ceiling, so they'll start tying that ductwork into the VRF boxes.
Line sets.
The line sets they've done some of the line set main work to the distribution boxes. From there, they haven't run the VRF lines to the actual units within each room. But we're expecting to see that over the next month. Fire protection they've got a lot of the mains done, some of the branch lines are done. We'll see that continue over the next, few weeks. They did some selective drywall tops in certain areas. And for electrical rough-ins, they got a lot of the power run in the admin area. They haven't done much of the fire alarm wire or the lighting yet, but they've dropped some of their panels in, and they've run their wires to the home runs to the panels. We've had some miscellaneous just roofing, ongoing, blocking, mesh flashing, detailing work. That's substantially complete, almost done. Just that perimeter trim that needs to be finished, that edge flashing. Just trying to think if there's anything else on the exterior that I missed. Some rooftop unit work.
Yep.
Right?
Rooftop VRUs are set in place. Roof edge was done earlier in the month. We also had exterior progress with the brick veneer. I've been monitoring temperatures, trying to keep an eye on that, what masons are up there. They are blowing in heat, so that's kind of wrapping its way around the front of the building and completed the back. Exterior.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the gist of the work that got done over the last month. We haven't really had any inspections from GCI over the last month. We're gonna have them out
I have them scheduled for later in the week.
later in the week for some masonry work. Just ongoing communication, weekly meetings with the team, and Tom in pretty much constant communication with HKA regarding questions that come up, and whether it's sequencing of the work or questions about if certain consultants need to be out on site, stuff like that. Greg will let Tom know if one of his engineers are coming out to do any inspections, but I would probably we'll expect to see some of those within the next 2 to 3 weeks, with kind of wrapping up the rough ends in the admin area and trying to get walls start to close in. We listed the just consultants and workers observed on site over the month. We typically do that. There's a few new faces and most of the same. DigSafe was out to review the gas line install. We're expecting that probably early March, or
Early to mid-March,
yeah, it's weather permitting. Just in terms of administrative items, we have 265 submittals for pending action, and there's quite a few that still need resubmittal for the record, which we'll just, keep an eye on those, make sure Paige follows through on those. We have one pending RFI currently, and as I said, we've been having weekly meetings, regular meetings to discuss the project. And we've had a couple just miscellaneous meetings outside of our regular weekly meetings, just to discuss schedule and things like that. This is a look-ahead forecast for upcoming work over the next month. Just on exterior work, we'll have finishing up the trim, masonry, and we're expecting overhead doors by the end of the month, so hopefully we'll see those start to get put in around this time next month. Glazing, as I said, we have a little bit more window framing, glazing to do. The upper part of the vehicle maintenance bay, where it wraps over the admin area. We have, I would think, probably got another couple weeks of that. As I said, gas underground coming up shortly. We should be finishing up the interior masonry. In terms of MEP rough-ins, again, focus is on the admin wing. They are roughing in outside of that in the storage area with certain plumbing lines I saw some today that were, I don't know if those are air lines, Tom. Do you know if those are air or water?
What, the copper?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are airlines.
So, anyways, there's some miscellaneous work going on over there. We're kind of keeping an eye on making sure the focus is on the admin area, because we do, I think, in terms of the critical path, it's more important that they get that finished up and get those walls start closing in so we can work on finishes. Electrical, lighting, and fire alarm is kind of next. They're just have a little bit more work to do on power and receptacles. Duct work is ongoing with the tie-ins to the VRF boxes. As I said, those are the refrigerant line sets, and they'll have some condensate lines to do. They'll have pipe and duct insulation to do after that. We'll expect to see testing of the line sets and duct testing as well. Those are pressure tests and triple evacuations for the refrigerant lines, just following manufacturer guidelines.
We should have some meeting about that too. I'll talk to Pete, see if we can maybe have a meeting just for like commissioning purposes and get things up and running, maybe like a.
Yeah, we do have, I can bring up commissioning later, but we do have a commissioning person on board as well. So we got rough inspections closing the walls in the next coming weeks. Looks like probably 3 weeks maybe. Accordance, that's roughly where they're calling it in their latest schedule from January 21st. And I would think we may see some more drywall hanging, definitely by this time next month, but
I think they'll be able to start
around the
hanging
end of
some.
the month.
Yeah, might be able to start some more miscellaneous shoot rock, next week, the next week.
So the last schedule update was January 21st. That shows the so the date, the 6/9 date hasn't changed. That's the certificate of occupancy that they're saying that they're going to get to for the new building. And they have the final completion date of 7/15. Actually, sorry, I said that wrong. So the latest update had a slight improvement on the June date. It was like June 12th or something they call it. They're down to like the 9th. But the final completion date hasn't changed from the last update we gave. We talked about looking into the feasibility of moving out either with a temp CFO, moving stuff out of the existing storage bay out front into the building or into temporary locations so that Paige can get that taken down quicker and complete the miscellaneous site work and site improvements along the front. There's drainage that goes in that area, and landscaping and stuff. So, but I think a lot of that can still happen once we hit the spring. It's just really whatever's in and around the existing building that's going to hold up the end date, the final end date. But in terms of substantial completion, that certificate of occupancy, we're looking at that June 9th date. And just in terms of percent complete, if you look at it based on May 21st, May 21st being the final completion contractual date. I mean, the NTP shows 4/21, but really they had 395 days per their contract. So I don't know. I think that the May date is really the right date that they should be entitled to. They're still kind of using the April date in the PCO that they have for this claim they have for additional time and general conditions. They also did part of that's winter conditions too, which we're still reviewing. But if you look at it from that date, they're about 75% complete. If you look at it based on the July 15th final completion date, they're about 65% complete, which is in line with their building at 63%. So,
Right, but according to the schedule, they're 10% behind schedule.
yeah, they are.
They should be 75% complete with the project,
Yeah.
and they're only
But
65% complete.
I think this, the more I look at the schedule, I just don't see what all the time is taking at the end. Like, I think that there's a chance that they can,
Short up.
that they might be able to shorten it up. It just common sense to me from seeing other projects. And it seems like they might have maybe lost like a little bit of time in the last month of where they could have picked up some time in rough-ins, but it's not awful. Like they're generally where the schedule shows. It's just that some of the time they put in later in the schedule seems like they've added some durations to that time, and which is kicking it out. And we still need to talk about this more and figure out, I think there's generally the group is okay with, with the July date. We've been talking about July for a little while now. It doesn't, the liability with the date is just, obviously if it slips anymore, and like potential costs for being beyond the May, their contractual date, which, again, we're still reviewing this actively and should be having another meeting either tomorrow or this week to talk about the schedule and the PCOs that are out there.
I know in the past we talked, the May date, and they were always trending to like a June or July. And there was never any discussion about costs. But then they send us
Right.
the PCO, and the PCO starts in May. So my only concern, I know it's still being evaluated, if we do end up in that June or July, are they still going to be looking for money from May to July?
The PCO starts in April. So.
Well, okay, regardless,
Yeah.
it starts the contractual
You're
date.
saying, is it still gonna-
And there were, I don't want to say we always knew they were behind, but they were behind a little bit, and we were talking like a June date, not a huge deal. I think everyone was on board. Now they're July. I even saw something about August.
Yeah.
But when they sent us a potential change order, it started with that original contract date. So I'm also concerned about that. Like, regardless whether we finish June, July, August, are they looking for any monies? But again, it comes down to the schedule.
Yeah.
They you can't just add time to a schedule. They get 395 days.
Yeah.
That's it. From May 21st was the NTP. That very rough math that gets you to around May. That probably that May 21st date. So
Yeah, I definitely think that the biggest issue with the overall completion date is the green building out front and getting that down. You know what I mean? But the thing about that is there's really not, like, I don't know, for example, when they're doing the work in the spring, they're going to be taking the trailers out of there, they're going to be doing landscaping, the building's going to be substantially complete inside. They're just going to be doing more like, final life safety stuff and kind of wrapping up the finishes. But, I think that the Supers trailer is probably going to go around that time. They're going to bring them inside, working out of something small. Tom might be working out of the new building.
that's all cost. They gotta substantiate the
Yes.
schedule first.
Yeah.
It's pointless to talk about costs.
Yeah.
They gotta show us in the schedule.
Yeah, because even with the schedule justification, doesn't always mean there's costs. We could grant time,
No cost time.
no cost time,
Right.
if there was a legitimate reason.
That's
But-
my
And
favorite.
Well,
Yeah.
we
and
wanna be
things
fair,
like
but
that.
I don't think we.
And I'm not speaking for the committee. I'm speaking just as myself.
Yeah.
Agreements on things like that of time, no money, would make me a little more palatable to us getting out of the green building sooner than later. and working with them.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and then wherever we had to go, if we had to be nomads for a month or work out of the armory, the contract is we'd move into one building, then they demo the old building. That's the contract. So I think it all starts with the schedule. And having them give us that data that you folks can review.
Well, if we're in with a C of O, the beneficial use, I don't want to say, but doesn't that give us some flexibility on the green? I know there's site work, but at least the crew's working. You know what I mean? They have a home. I don't know. I have to look at that schedule a little deeper.
I don't know why the latest PCO takes it to August.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. They don't have a schedule that shows it out to August, so I don't know why they're asking for August. Like, the schedule right now shows it to working out, in July, and getting you guys into the new building in June. So,
Are there any subcontractors that are a problem that you guys can see? Like, or is there a delivery? Like, I don't know.
not that we know of. I mean, that
Long lane.
that there's a PCO for PCO 17 is for some modifications to this access control and security system that we know about.
Yeah.
They sent a pretty big number with not a lot of backup, so we're asking for more backup on that. But that part of that, the electrician said in order to do that, he wanted 90 days. So I don't know if he's trying to build in something for himself because he's got other issues, but I don't see it. I mean, unless he's we haven't been put on notice that they're, that they don't have panel guts and stuff like that. So
if they could say that. Not that we want that, but
yeah,
he's got to come up with something legit that.
So on that, I just want to let the board know that I did have a conversation with Josh, IT. Frank had a conversation with him Friday. I had a conversation with him today to talk about that PCO, and he has some concerns. He really does think that the PCO and the cost associated with the PCO is not in line with what needs to be done. His take is that we should actually be getting a credit for what we already have to supplement for what this building is going to need. So he's of the opinion that we should be self-performing. We should be looking for the contract allowance before we go too far. Like I said, this is a discussion we're going to have obviously in the next couple of weeks. You were going to schedule another meeting with Josh so everybody could be on the same page. But for a 2-month delay in getting anything back on the RFP number 2 took 2 months to get it back. I mean, it's almost designed to be brought to the point where we have no time to decide other than accepting the demands of the subcontractor for a $91,000 surcharge on them. I mean, and it's just way out of line, So we need to get some more information. All they're giving us is a lump sum breakdown. I mean, it doesn't really give us any.
I'm not aware of any lead time issues with Genetec systems. I don't think that's a real thing.
So what are the 90 days?
It's off the shelf stuff pretty much. And the wiring, all the wiring should be the same. So the banana cable that goes from the IT room or the head end area where the access control panel is to the point where the door is or the camera, that's all the same. The camera should be the same. The card reader should be the same. It's the panel that all that stuff comes into, and the actual relays and stuff that operate the doors and the hard drives for the cameras. That stuff is what they're saying. I would think most of that $91,000 that was in that for that PCO was for the Genetec maybe, but for the other miscellaneous the added card reader at the IT room and moving that equipment to out of the electric room to the IT room. And I don't think that should be. That's kind of a negligible cost. I mean, there's probably something there if they got a floor, an extra hole or something, but we need to have a meeting with them. They need to walk us through like where they're coming from. So that's my recommendation, to just get on a call with Paige, bring American in. We'll just talk through it. Like I said, Rick's talked to Josh. I've talked to Frank as well, who's talked to Josh, and I think I just want to find out a little bit more about what type of system you have at the police station and elsewhere, and how it could be extended.
Did they give a breakdown of material?
No.
Basically said-
That sounds like it's the biggest
They
component.
basically just said, we're willing to take a risk. We put a big enough
$70,000
put a
lump
big
sum.
enough number on it to take a risk that it was. And by the way, we need 90 days.
And this won't affect closing up the walls, like you said.
Nothing. No.
The conduit
There should
and
be
the
conduit.
boxes
Sleeves.
are all there and part of the contract. So
And it's not critical path. I mean,
The other
if you
thing
didn't
is,
have card readers, I mean, CFO.
I think the committee should discuss if, the pros and cons to a Genetec system. If you are the systems talking to each other between this building, the police station, and or a school that's coming up, or can this be
They
standalone?
might
A lot of people do it standalone. If you're doing a police station or a fire station, it's almost always Genetec.
I'm going
He
to
was
defer. I'm
pretty
going to defer to Josh.
He was pretty adamant in the discussion that we have had in 14 years this system in place throughout the town. This would be the only building that had something different.
Yeah.
So to him, it's not even a discussion.
Right.
Yeah, for some
I defer
reason
to
it didn't
Josh.
come
He
up in
knows his-
design, and we like to make it proprietary, because normally we would just take it out and we would just bid it separately. And we would just have the electrical contractor run the conduits and everything, and we would have already had a third, like a vendor, Signet or BCM or somebody
Like-
that was coming
Like an
in.
owner furnished.
Yeah.
I think that's where
That's
we're
what you were
gonna end
talking about.
up.
You
I
were-
think that's where we're going to go.
Well, and I think if that works best, there's monies, whatever it is, we got to go to the subcontractor now and say, hey, we're going to take back.
Right. Do you know what the contract allowance is for this? That'd be something to get for our next meeting.
Yeah.
Is it an allowance or is it just part of their?
No, it's not an allowance. The best thing we can do is see how it's broken down in the schedule of values, but it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Right,
I mean,
because it was just part of the electrical file sub.
But I mean, you could probably put a percentage on it at some point. I don't think that would be that difficult.
I would just look at the schedule of values and see what they carried, and then some of the stuff is going to be, they're not going to give it back to you. They're going to say, well, that's for stuff we already did, for putting together a submittal package, and for
Oh yeah, yeah.
You never get dollar for dollar.
I mean,
not
they're
gonna
doing
get
the
it.
conduit.
Yeah.
They're doing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If the conduit's in that number, or
But
But they're
Josh
gonna
is
tell
up.
you this.
He's of the opinion that this should be a credit, not an additional charge, for what needs to be in place for us to put a controller that's compatible with the system we've had in place for 14 years. That's what we're looking to do.
did Josh think that he was going to bring in
He
somebody to do the Genetec?
he would initiate that when this committee makes a decision. Yeah.
Because
I think that's
there would be a credit if he thinks that he owns that or we own that through FF&E, but we bought it through the project.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think that's probably where we're going to end up. I think we should be looking in that direction.
Can I ask, were you considering would Josh be on that call?
Yes.
Paige?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Might as well, yeah.
Definitely. I think you start with
Want to make sure.
having a call with Josh to have them explain what they're doing, what the costs are. If they're just throwing numbers out of there, they got some rough numbers, and then I'd leave that to
Yeah.
Rick and yourself and
Well,
Frank.
I think
if
the
they're on
first
the call,
with
to then
Josh
say,
and
hey,
American, like, what do you?
we're just going to take this on ourselves,
Yeah.
and then you can,
I think a call with Josh, American, and you and the subcommittee would probably glean out that the American doesn't want to do this. I think that's why they put this number on. And by putting the 90-day extension, they really don't want to do this.
Right.
In my mind.
Yeah, then you can go the other direction and say, okay, we'll prepare a credit for the scope of work that we're going to take out of your contract.
That's where I think we should.
Josh can move forward with his vendor that.
Yeah, you can always open the building without your cameras if you had to, and without your.
I'm not worried about opening. I'm just worried about closing walls up. So we can close walls up and keep, finishes going and all that. I think it's something that needs to be resolved. Probably by our next meeting.
Yeah.
But I'm not concerned with it holding up.
They usually do
Opening the building.
sleeves to the junction box or conduit.
Right. Everything
Like from above the ceiling so they could pull it later if it had to be.
I think they have an obligation to show us where this $92,000 is.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. The backup.
Absolutely.
Alright,
We sidetracked.
Sounds like an important one.
we only had the 2 invoices for last month, so, we added those into the budget here, brings pages total to, 60, where am I?
63%.
Yeah,
It's completed, so we still.
and then,
Where is that
Actually-
spreadsheet?
Actually, it's more than that.
Right there. Is that the one you showed us on the board? Where did we get that? It's not at the page in the rec, right?
no, this is my budget. This is my budget. There's construction. Oops. Yeah, so there's 63%.
Can I just? They're 67%
Yeah. I'd even say that was high.
completed. The 63 is less retainage.
Oh, right.
So the total completed state is 12.6 out of the 19,
Yeah, well, this is,
which is we're approaching 67%. It's I think they're getting a little. We talked about they should be 75%. They're about 63%. Using a 15th month schedule. If they're really a 16, 17 month schedule, then they're only down to like 50%.
That's where.
You know what I mean? Those are some big differences.
It's a big, huge difference. Yeah.
So I'm all for wanting to pay the contractor and keep him going, but I think we gotta settle this, or at least agree where we are schedule wise. We're anywhere from 55 to 75%. That's a big difference. And we get $7 million left. The last thing I want to do is be upside down. So I think it has to, the schedule has to get resolved in the next month. Where are we at? What date are we targeting? And then we can talk about costs. Because then we can wrap our heads around too of, where we're at payment wise. Rick.
Can I just add to that too? It's like, for the past 2 months, since the GC has been requesting this extension of time, I've been trying to initiate a discussion of how the town will be exposed to cost escalation from the designer and the OPM. So I know we talked about this at the last couple of weekly meetings. First I'd like to recognize that, obviously our OPM is doing a great job and demonstrated that for the last 11 months. But this concerns me when I look at the summary. If you look at your backup on your billing, right, it shows you construction phase. The contract amount was $490,000, right? The amount billed to date is $357,500. So that leaves us $132,500, right? So I'm of the opinion that the monitoring of the construction should align with the pace of the construction, right? So there's some pretty big discrepancies with the pace of the construction. So in my mind, we have $186,500 left in our OPM budget. And it shouldn't be unreasonable to extend these resources if in fact there is an agreement to extend the project timeline. So looking at what we have left and how many more months of this project is going to go, right? We're billing at $45,000 a month, right? We have $132,500. We should be out of money in May, right? Would you agree?
Well, then we go into closeout, so we're into
So you have $54,000 in closing.
Yeah, you got 186, so we're
Right. So I don't want to say that, you know, like we're ahead we're getting ahead of our OPM with billing, depend on where we are in the project. That's why it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You know, it's like we really need to know what percentage we are if we're going to avoid having some unexpected billing from, you know, just as an example, OPM in the month of May to say, well, look we got 2 more months. We don't want you to work for nothing. Conversely, we could look at the extended amount of time and break out the additional remaining money to allocate per month, right? So just for example, if you had to extend this project with $132,000 over the course of 5 months, then instead of billing at $45,000, we should be billing at $22,000, right? Or we're not going to make it. It's just a simple math thing. That's all I'm saying. So I've been asking for, you know, the potential exposure of the town, and you know, I guess it really, really breaks down to, as the chairman said, finding out where we are in the project. So this is something we're going to have an ongoing discussion about every week, and then hopefully we'll have an answer by next month.
Yeah, I mean,
we can definitely look into it further with, you know, between you and me, myself, Neil, and just the group and see and brainstorm, you know, to see how we can, you know, I can tell you this, I mean, as long as I've been working with Neil and with, you know, it's EMS, I know we've always been very fair, so I don't know if, you know, I think we try to work with all our clients, and even if we're doing everything we can to push the contractor and they push it out, like we're not hungry to just keep, you know, billing. I mean, we try to, it's not to say we don't bill for, you know, extended services and stuff like that, but we, you know, I don't have the contract in front of me to see like
Right.
exactly how we.
And really, this is just for a discussion.
For, you know, a lot of that cost is for the on-site support. You know, what I
We
mean?
should, and we absolutely should maintain our
We
clerk
definitely need that.
throughout the project at
Yeah.
the end. I totally agree with that. But like I mentioned this before, is like that, you know, to look at the contract and, you know, maybe reallocate all resources to get us to the end of the project. Because here, quite frankly, is the town shouldn't be held financially hostage by the performance of the general contractor. If the contractor wants to do a $20 million project in 24 months instead of 12, it shouldn't be at our expense. That's all I'm saying. And I did float the idea of looking to recover, you know, for OPM costs. And, you know, the discussion is ongoing. Yeah, that's all. But I just wanted to get it in front of the board, so this isn't a discussion we're having in May. We should be having it in February. Should have had it in December.
we'll be out of money in May.
Yeah,
I mean, your current burn rate, you're out of money in April.
right. April 26th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. By my count.
Your April billing. So I think it's a fair, you know, we're definitely going to still be here in April. Or if we can be here in May.
In May.
Most likely, probably all of June, too.
Yeah, I would say. But we got to get this scheduled.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Very much.
So overall what we spent to date with the current, with those bills, we'd be at 61% expended. Change orders, no change orders for that this month. Safety's been fine. QA, QC, we have some tests coming up, but nothing over the past month. Nothing to report on that. Compliance is mostly just, stormwater and SWIP management, and that's just no issues to report on that one. It's not an issue right now. Community issues, none. The potential issues we talked about are the 2 PCOs that are the winter conditions, general conditions, and also the miscellaneous security modifications. So we'll be having some follow-up discussions next week. Moving forward over the next couple of weeks, probably several discussions on that. I don't know if Bruce sent you anything about furniture. Last email I saw from him a week or 2 ago, we had gotten some stuff back from WB Mason on the furniture package, just as a follow-up to the site meeting we had at AIS with the manufacturer. We had that meeting on January 15th. Just following the meeting, there were some samples brought to the building, some chairs and other samples. I think they brought some hard samples too, right, Tom?
Yeah. They're actually in the office still.
Yeah. But Bruce was saying he was going to try to distribute that to the committee. So, anything?
I haven't seen anything.
No,
See anything?
I think Bruce. I think he's kind of working with the WB Mason guy, exactly kind of,
Yep.
The conference room, how big of a table, or
Yeah, I think they wanted some space for the recording
some
secretary.
right, some shelves for
I spoke with Bruce about that.
plans, and he kind of looked at some of the documents and things that we have down there and how we want to store those. Some of the, I think a lot of it's the plans. The old.
The question I have is who's going to make the color selections? Is that going to be
Not me.
Is that
Me neither.
going to come to the committee like once we have a finalized?
Mary Beth.
Sure. I love decorating.
You like that?
I defer to the people that are going to be using it.
Right.
I would assume there's a paint schedule for the walls and the carpets and all that, and I think.
We
wanna
have
get
that. We have that
Yeah.
whole schedule that Mike sent out a week or 2 ago. We sent that to WB Mason so they could give Bruce and the office some suggestions. They sent out a bunch of different options that they thought would work. But I think maybe probably start narrowing that stuff, those selections down within the next couple of weeks.
We'll see Bruce Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they have pretty much the layout is pretty close with some minor tweaks. Again, colors is going to be something they can put together. And they, WB Mason also sent them an option for some industrial shelving. That is I think it's kind of newer to the market, but they've been putting it in other DPW buildings. It's like a reinforced, basically composite plastic type material. When I first looked at it, I thought it was like the Home Depot stuff, but it looks kind of like it. But it's got steel reinforcing in it. It's meant for these type applications. So he said he'd bring a sample if he wanted it. Otherwise, there's probably a lot of different other options too. So I'll work with Bruce and you, Dave, about just on what you guys want for, shelving. And we'll have I have a couple questions for Josh on other technology stuff that he's going to need, so we'll add that to our meeting coming up. Just progress photos. This is earlier in the month. These windows are all done up here. This is the front here and the back. Is what I was talking about that isn't done yet, but these windows are all in. Scroll through here.
So Tom, they used to have temp heaters inside the building. like torpedoes and stuff.
Right now they have a big,
Left off.
yeah, the heater going in here now. Masonry.
Chuck, is that a subcontractor back there on that truck? Is that what they work for Page? Those guys?
That is Whitman, I believe. I have to see the truck.
So that's a finished contractor, Whitman?
They do the temp ply. Oh, template and all the doors I showed you.
Oh, yeah.
So this was all covered, and this is all done, right, Tom?
Yep.
So they did close that up and heat that too.
It's closed up, yeah. They, I think later in some of these pictures you can see, but they were in there last week. They got that whole front end wrapped all the way up to the top.
What about the overhead
Those
doors?
pictures are actually in February because it was technically February.
Overhead doors, it's still...
It's supposed to be coming in at the end of this month.
This is just continuation of CMU interior masonry partition wall between the
That was when they just started
area
back
and
in early
the
January.
maintenance area. Those walls are all done now. That's the admin area. This is where we're starting the framing at the top. Storefront, front entrance.
That's the side.
Is that the side? Okay, so
Yeah.
the side entrance over there. I should remember this.
That's the framers bar with drywall. They had sheetrock tops going in. That's Enterprise mechanical. That is also Enterprise mechanical. There's some dock with Apex.
This is there's a lot of this in there. It's the ductwork. Is that it?
Yeah, maybe.
This is you can't really see it, but this is that VRF unit that they just put in this week. So they'll start making the tie-ins to those units, and then they have refrigerant lines that tie into these. They're basically like a fan coiling unit, VRF fan coiling unit in the ceiling. All right. Hopefully next month we'll see drywall.
That'd be a good sign.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good reading. Pictures.
It's good if nobody wants to see anything.
So nobody's far enough along for any rough inspections.
Not just yet.
No.
I had that discussion today actually with
I mean,
Chris from Apex and then Danny from Enterprise, just trying to find out gauge like what they can do, refrigerant and all that. Have the systems tested before we have
Inspector come out.
like town inspectors. Bob was out there on Friday actually. He gave a call, gave a little bit of a walkthrough, but hasn't been any.
this is just, looking at the schedule here, this is the latest schedule. So this is your like milestones here, showing what we talked about earlier for building envelope complete, 318, new DPW complete, which may require 10 box to be 6-9. They have several, like, it's that like a month and a half for
That's a long punch.
for punch lists. Yeah, so.
That's how they drag out the project.
Right, and then you have, this is kind of a snapshot of what's going on now. So, based on their last schedule updates, so we have like MEP, rough MEP, some exterior work, interior windows, interiors are down here. Interiors. So, they're saying they're See, rough plumbing is pretty
10th,
far along here.
13th,
I mean,
20th.
Shortly. I think that's probably pretty realistic with the plumber. He still has insulating stuff to do.
For a roof, oh, yeah.
Fire alarm, electrical technologies a little bit. This is a little bit behind. I think there may be I don't know, there might be another, just based on looking at it today, I'd say they got another week.
Priming and painting in April 3rd. I just find that really hard.
Well, it's something pushing the sprinkler out too. That just seems weird. Like you would think there'd be a little more overlap
Yeah.
with the other roughs.
Assuming red's the critical. I'm assuming the red's the critical path.
Right.
Scroll up.
And it's the driver.
But in their own schedule, they're showing June 9th,
Yeah.
substantially complete.
Yeah.
Yes.
So why do you need July?
Or
August.
August is completely off the table.
It's-
I couldn't understand
They
that.
may have realized something's not real here, but that's
Yeah,
not our fault.
right. It seems like, we're going to build in an enormous amount of time on the tail end, so we're not looking at, any type of liquidated damage potential, right? I mean, would that give them a cushion?
Only if it's excusable. You can put as much as you want. If it's not excusable, it means nothing.
Right, exactly. Well, when you ask for a schedule, you hope it's real, right?
Good.
I was going to ask, do we have a separate MEP, commissioning agent? For this?
yeah, so.
Was it you guys? I don't know.
Yep, we do.
I don't need to know the name. I'm just wondering. We should probably
We got a
factor that into the schedule. I don't
Yeah,
know.
we got a proposal from Paul Sekas from, I'll give you the name of his company because he used to do CES, but he's Total Building System Consultants now.
All right. I'm just
We've
thinking.
used him a lot, and usually, like, we just run him through us, and manage him.
That's fine.
And,
So,
Is that like a 30-day?
well, that's what I'm saying. They can usually give help.
Because that wasn't in the schedule, right?
I didn't see a separate bar, but that's the point. Like they can
it's not
help
gonna
consolidate.
It's not really going to affect their schedule for a project this size.
Sometimes.
For what they're doing. We'll have them coordinate with Paige when they're doing certain testing inspections. They'll do their functional testing once they get everything done. All the testing's done. They'll come in and just check airflows at in each room, make sure it's Paige owes us a full balancing report and finishing the project 100%, but these guys just make sure everything's working.
That's like no surprises. That's what I'm thinking. Pump all the pumps.
They can help work out some of the kinks on certain issues if they come up.
That's all before final inspections,
Right.
It should be.
just in case. Obviously, if there's something.
Yeah.
So we had $75,000 total for commissioning services, and the proposal I have is for $20,000.
Nice.
So
There you go. Let's see it. There's a contractor you can work with. Sorry.
Well, maybe you want some more inspections
So
out
that-
of them.
So we can
Now we're into May.
We'll leave the money in there now, but if we need to move some of it out later on to bring it back, put it into FF&E or put it in a contingency or something, we can have a discussion here and see what you want to do.
Okay.
Very good.
So we get the two invoices.
You have those two invoices, yes.
I'll make a motion to pay.
I will second it.
You want the dollar amount? It's $1,224,547.55.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. I think I beat schedule enough. Don't need to talk about that anymore. I have nothing else. Anyone in the committee have anything?
Scott, can you just send me the monthly
I'm going to
report?
send it right now.
Awesome. Because you knew I was going to ask. Thank you.
I was just going to add, I'm thinking further about Josh's the system for card readers. I know he uses, from a personal side, my CERT card at the fire station is what he programs, use it to DPW, so he likes it that way. I said, just give me a separate one. He has his reasons, and I don't question.
He's good at what he does.
He's very good at what he
He
does.
Like Mary
He
Beth
knows his
says,
stuff.
if Josh makes a recommendation,
That's right.
it really should be followed.
Absolutely,
Yeah. So
100%.
he's, yeah.
I feel bad that we didn't involve him earlier in the project, to be perfectly honest with you. Or
We talked about it.
even when this PCO was first proposed, we should have had a conversation with him 2 months ago. But
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020.
Yes, you're looking at steel and everything else.
Well, yeah, we're a little distracted.
That's why I want to make sure he's involved in the conversations and with Paige and everything else. So,
Well, if there's no further business, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Give him a chance.
yes,
Aye.
Aye.